Day 18, Scream 3. Usually I don't go in the middle of franchises, but with it being 31 Nights of Halloween, anything goes. So here is Scream 3. Came out in 2000, rated R. It's an hour and 56 minutes. I'm honestly surprised that it's that long. But it's got the usual suspects. If you've ever seen the original Scream, it has Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott, David Arquette is Dewey Riley, Courtney Cox is Gale Weathers, and Liv Schreiber has Cotton Weary. Now, there's a couple other people that got added to the cast. There was Parker Posey as Jennifer Jensen, Lance Henriksen as John Milton, Patrick Dempsey as Mark Kincaid, and Scott Foley as Roman Bridger. The whole film starts off as... Now, hold up. Before I even start what this film is about, originally this was supposed to be a giant mastermind from one of the killers from Scream 1. He was supposed to be the mastermind as to who orchestrated everything, but because of the Columbine Massacre when this came out, that whole idea got nixed. And this movie is actually known as one of the worst Scream films because they bunched it all together and Kevin Williamson barely got to write any of it. I mean, Wes Craven ended up coming back to direct it, which was great. It helped keep the soul of Ghostface, but the film wasn't as good as it could have been, at least in the eyes of most Scream fans. Now, my wife liked it, which I was surprised of. I definitely enjoy it. I don't think it's one of the worst ones, especially after the sixth one. But that's besides the point. So let's dive into this a little bit. So Scream 3 starts off with Cotton Weary, where he is famous for having a talk show, and he's in the middle of traffic, and the killer calls saying that he wants to know where Sydney is. And at this point, she's hiding. She doesn't want to be stalked anymore. She'd rather run than face her fears. And after all the shit she dealt with in Scream 1 and 2, which I will be talking about as soon as I can, I don't blame her. It gets to the point that you sit there and you think, is this my life? Now, Cotton ends up being killed in the beginning, and one of the biggest things I want to give you the heads up on is this movie was very Creed-driven. If you don't know the band Creed, then I don't really know what you're doing with your life. I mean, they are an old band, but they did just come back. But that was another thing people didn't really like about this movie, was the fact that it was Creed everywhere. Now, there is a little special guest appearance by Carrie Fisher, and it kind of ties the movie together just because the joke that she plays about being Princess Leia. Like I said, you're gonna have to definitely watch it to understand what I'm talking about. But so the killer ends up killing off the cast of Stab 3, which, if you've seen you've seen Scream 2, after the Woodsboro murders in Scream 1, they started doing their own little franchise of Stab films. And, after Gale Weathers did the Woodsboro murders book, it kind of helped them create a franchise within a franchise. And so the killer starts killing off the people who were in Stab 3. So, right off the bat, Mark Kincaid, who's played by Patrick Dempsey, is the head of the investigation, and, he goes straight to Gale Weathers, and he wants to know what her thoughts are on this. And right off there, we hit the ground running, because once we meet Gale, then we meet Dewey, and then we meet Roman, we meet Jennifer Jensen, and the cast keeps on hitting and hitting and hitting. And you get so into the film trying to figure out who's going to be killed next, who the killer is, and then, bing, here comes Sidney Prescott. She comes back out of the limelight, And I'm not going to tell you who the killer is. I definitely think you need to watch it because when I first watched it, I mean, it came out in 2000, so I was 4. I probably honestly watched it when I was 6 or 7, but it definitely threw me for a loop, and it was one hell of a loop that I feel like you should enjoy yourself. You shouldn't be spoiled for it. So I definitely say you should, give it a watch. IMDb gave it a 5.7 out of 10, but I give it a 4.5 out of 5 because, like I said, it's a good movie. I definitely don't agree with most Ghostface fans, or Scream fans for that matter, that this was one of the worst movies that they created, because it wasn't. You know, it got kind of jumped together and they made the best out of basically nothing. So it's on HBO Max if you want to give it a watch. But like I said, give me your honest thoughts, because this is a controversy that's been going on for years, and I stand by Scream 3 100% that it's definitely not the worst in the franchise. So let me know.